In 1884, the most powerful nations in Europe gathered in Berlin. They met to decide the future of an entire continent, but not a single African was invited to the table. This one meeting, and the treaty that came from it, would redraw the map of Africa and change its destiny forever. Before this meeting, European control in Africa was mostly limited to coastal areas. But the world was changing. Industrial nations needed resources, and Africa was seen as a vast, untapped treasure chest. The Berlin Conference was called to set the rules for what would become the Scramble for Africa. On paper, the treaty they signed, known as the General Act of 1885, promised to bring free trade and end the slave trade. In reality, it was a thinly veiled agreement to carve up the continent without going to war with each other. The core principle was simple. If you could effectively occupy a piece of land, you could claim it as your own. This triggered a frantic rush, and within just a few years, almost all of Africa was under European colonial rule. It was the birth of a new, colonized Africa, defined not by its people, but by foreign powers. One of the biggest beneficiaries of this new arrangement was King Leopold II of Belgium. He didn't claim territory for his country. He claimed it for himself. It's an enormous area in the heart of the continent. The Congo Basin became his personal property, cynically named the Congo Free State. Leopold promised to bring civilization and progress. Instead, he created a brutal regime built on forced labor. Millions of Congolese people were forced to collect rubber and ivory under horrific conditions. Those who failed to meet quotas faced mutilation or death. Leopold's private empire, built on the back of the Berlin Act, became one of history's darkest chapters. A stark reminder of the devastating human cost hidden behind the promises of progress. The wealth he extracted built grand monuments in Belgium, while the land he exploited was left scarred by unimaginable suffering. But the consequences of the Berlin Conference went far beyond any single territory. The lines drawn on the map were completely arbitrary. They were lines of convenience for European administrators, slicing through ancient kingdoms, separating ethnic groups, and forcing rival communities together into new artificial states. Imagine a single line on a map suddenly dividing your family, your town, and your entire culture. This happened all over the continent. Groups like the Somali, the Hausa, and the Away people found themselves split across multiple new colonies. Their traditional ways of life disrupted. These colonial borders, drawn without any regard for the languages, religions, or histories of the people who lived there, are largely the same borders that define African countries today. They are a direct legacy of that meeting in Berlin. From 1885 to the present day, the shadow of the Berlin Conference still looms large. The economic systems established during the colonial era, designed to extract resources for Europe, have had lasting effects on modern African economies. Political instability and conflicts in some regions can be traced back to those artificial borders that forced disparate groups together. The rules agreed upon in a single room in Berlin over a century ago set in motion a chain of events that continues to shape the lives of over 1 billion people. It was a single treaty that rewrote a continent, and its effects have never truly ended. Thanks for watching. If you want to understand more about the historical events that shaped our modern world, make sure to subscribe to World Unpacked. We'll see you in the next video.